Hi, my name is Miriam Neiman, a senior advisor in the Post-Aliyah Answers and Advocacy Department. I also have a specialty with those interested in making Aliyah with a family member with special needs and navigating that system. I am very honored to present today's webinar on the special needs system in Israel, presented by Chana Zweiter. Chana has partnered with Nefesh B'Nefesh over many years, helping hundreds of families find the right placement for their adult family member with special needs, making Aliyah to Israel. We all look forward to welcoming you home.
Shalom from the Nefesh B'Nefesh offices here in Jerusalem. My name is Chana Zweiter, and the reason that I'm speaking to you here from Nefesh B'Nefesh office is because I am surrounded by incredible advisors and professionals who are helping you navigate the Aliyah system to make it the most successful Aliyah that it can be. And I come in, I'm their go-to professional. I'm a private consultant who can help you navigate the system for your adult family member with special needs. Adult, meaning anyone over 21, because before that, that person, like in different parts of the world, belongs to the education system and has a different set of principles. And adult special needs, people who may be on the spectrum, different places on the spectrum, different people who may have developmental disabilities, i.e. Cognitive disabilities, high functioning, low functioning, different kinds of physical disabilities, hearing impairments. As we know, there's a variety, a lot of, and some of them are overlapping disabilities. I'm going to help you through that process. And I'm going to start by showing you that when you understand who the team is and you understand what the process is, that you can make Aliyah and that your family member with special needs will have a very, very successful life here in Israel. Okay, so I'm going to start by telling you who the team members are. You are the captain of the team. That's why you, the parents, appear on top. I use the word parent. You might be the guardian. You might be a sister if you're talking about an elderly family member. But you are the people, you are the captains of the team. We know, I and this Nefesh B'Nefesh folks, we know how the system works and we know who to connect you to, but you're the ones that know your family member the best. So we're depending on you just like you're depending on us, okay? This is the way the process is. You've decided that you'd like to make Aliyah, and you turn to Nefesh B'Nefesh and you say, I'd like to make Aliyah, and I think I want to live here, and these are my needs. But I'm very concerned because I have a 40-year-old son who has, for example, Down syndrome, or I have a 35-year-old sister who's been in a group home for a long time, and my parents are deceased, and I can't leave the United States without her. I don't know how the system works. Are there opportunities for these family members here in Israel? And Nefesh B'Nefesh then at that point is going to say to you, well, you need to do two things at this point. I don't think either one comes before the other, but I say you need to apply to the Jewish agency, which everybody has to apply to the Jewish agency, and they have their guidelines. And in a few minutes, I'm going to tell you what's specific to this family member with special needs. But you need to apply to the Jewish agency because in the end, again, even if you aren't coming with this particular family member, you need to address the questionnaires and provide the documentation, the medical reports, et cetera, that they're asking you. At the same time, the person at Nefesh B'Nefesh, and I get emails all the time. Aliyah told me to contact you. An email from Miriam Neiman said I should contact you. Yitzmoten said I should contact you. Again, messages all the time. You can be in contact with me and say to me, I want to make Aliyah. I was in touch with Nefesh B'Nefesh. This is my family member with special needs. I need help navigating the system, and the first thing I need to know is whether or not there are services for that, my sister, my child, et cetera, et cetera. At that point, I'm going to say to you, I'd like to meet you. I'd like to meet you on Zoom so you can tell me more about your family member, and I can tell you more about what's available here, just like we're doing here today in this webinar. And I'm going to say that to you, but I said, before you do that, I'm going to send you a document. It's a one-pager. It's really quite user-friendly, called a profile page. And I want you to write to me a little bit about your family member. I'll ask you a question about age. I'm going to ask what kinds of services a person is in now. What has she have gotten in the past? What are you looking for here? Where would you like to live, et cetera, et cetera. And anything else that you want to share with me. And if you have any old evaluations that you want to send me that'll help me understand, then I'll be able to read through this and be able to focus and prepare more for a Zoom meeting when we get this getting to know you Zoom meeting. I'm going to help you identify the government agencies. That's that purple circle over there. That tape pepper, the government agencies, and in a few minutes I'm going to tell you which they are, that are going to help, and are going to be responsible for your son, daughter, sister, brother, and who are the municipal representatives, and who are the people on the municipal level that you need to know, just in terms of, let's say, United States lingo. So we have in Israel, in the United States, we refer to more federal government. Here we refer to a more national government. So the national government is responsible, for your family member with special needs, but there are people on the municipal level, that's the city level, that are responsible as well. Okay, so they share that responsibility. Who are these government agencies that are specific to your particular family member? I'll start on the left, and I want to say to you that you'll see that throughout this presentation that sometimes some terminology I've used English and Hebrew, and some I've just left it in English. And I did that on purpose. You might, if you want to know the Hebrew translation or the word that we use, that's fine. I'll be able to provide it for you. Just send me an email that you want to know how to say this in Hebrew. But I use the terminology that you're going to hear, that you should be familiar. Masada Rebacha, what's that? Masada Betul only, what's that? But that's the Ministry of Welfare. That's Masada Rebacha, and that is with a capital T, agency that is responsible for your family member with special needs. First, tell people that when you come to Israel and you're recognized in the system, that's called hekeot, you're recognized in the system as somebody with special needs, you'll be in the system and for aging forever. And government will take care of all the costs. And I know that's a great, great consolation or a great feeling for parents who are aging, or God willing, we all are aging, that they will age. And they know that there'll always be somebody who will be taking care of their family member. The other agency that's important to you is the Kupat Cholim, or the Ministry of Health, which is true, or the health care providers, and which is true of all of us, not just the family member with special needs. You'll come on Aliyah, and you'll have to choose a health care provider. There are four main health care providers, Mochedet, Maccabi, Klalit, and Leumi. And my suggestion is, first of all, your Nefesh B'Nefesh advisor can very much help direct you in the right direction. When you say, how do I know what to choose? I would say one of the guidelines is that if this family member needs a special doctor, a specialist, or you do, come on Aliyah, I need a cardiologist. Come on Aliyah, my family, my son needs an endocrinologist. Come on Aliyah, and we need an orthopedist, okay? My suggestion is that you do your homework before you come on Aliyah. You can check it out with the people who live in the neighborhood, and you can actually Google it, and you can see if you go, for example, to Beit Shemesh, are there orthopedists? Is there an orthopedist there that will help me? Is there an endocrinologist there that I'll need? Or am I going to have to, travel far? You may have to travel anyway sometimes, but you want it to be as user-friendly as possible, and that the healthcare provider will do just that, provide the most to you in the closest, and not in a distance. The third government agency is called Bituach Leumi, and that's the national insurance, and they supplement They give out stipends, and they supplement what some of the other agencies don't provide. I will get to that specifically right now. Okay, so Masada Baham Bitur Mome are the basic agencies that are responsible, in addition to Kubatkuling, which you are, the healthcare provider, but responsible for your family member with special needs. They will each provide your child to give you vocational opportunities, where they chip in for that, and those are outsourced. In other words, there are many agencies here. There's Elwyn, there's Shekel, there's So, there's Aliyah. There are many agencies. I have a relationship with a lot of them. So when you come, I'll be able to show you what vocational settings opportunities are with this agency, what vocational setting are with that particular agency. There's work in the outside work field, like here on the Nefesh office, where there was a woman with Down syndrome who used to work here. And there's work in a closed office, and all of this, the kind of setting really depends on the functioning level of your child or your family member. I say child because even adult children are to remain our children, and so there are different kinds of opportunities that are available. There are residential settings. Sometimes, your family member with special needs is living at home, but you need to look towards the future. But sometimes your family member is already living in a residence, is already living in some kind of an apartment outside of the home. The Department of Revacha, so Welfare, and Bituach Leumi, National Insurance are responsible for finding those places and for funding those places. They're responsible for providing recreational activities, which we can find throughout the city that you live in. And Bituach Leumi, the National Insurance, can give you a special needs member, a family member, a stipend, a monthly stipend. How do we get these? How do we update? Well, I'm going to explain that to you soon. That's what's available. That's what these agencies provide for you, which basically is the child, your family member's whole entity, everything that your family member needs. Family members with special needs need to go to the Jewish agency and provide them with the questionnaire, answer their questionnaires, and do the apostille thing and the fingerprint thing and all the things that your advisor is going to tell you about. And the Jewish agency wants to be sure that we here in Israel, that all those agencies that I just spoke about can do the best for your family member, and they can give them the best opportunities. So if you go and you apply and you say, I have a 21-year-old male who's already in a residence who has cognitive disabilities on such and such level, the Jewish agency is going to say, I want to make sure that we are going to be able to provide for your child when we get to Israel. So what they're going to expect of you, and we need that for our other placement needs as well. You need to get an updated psychiatric evaluation or neurological or medical, not just the medical doctor that you go to have your ears checked or, if you have a cold or even COVID, but you need to be able to get a medical, which is a psychiatric or a neurological. You need a psychological. There's a whole battery of tests, even if your family member is quote-unquote low functioning, and there's a battery of tests that a psychologist has to do in order for them to be able to approve it, and these have to be no more than 6 months old from the time that you apply. You can apply, let's say, I make my application to Nefesh B'Nefesh in October, and I go to the Jewish agency soon after. I need evaluations, let's say, from the not later than 6 months before. That doesn't mean, you could plan to be on Aliyah and then summer, and then you could say, well, my evaluations now are a year old or 14 months old. That's okay. That's really okay. But you need to have these evaluations. And when you get them to me, you'll send them to the Jewish agency. They're okay with getting them in English. They're going to send them to the agencies here. They're going to send them to that Mishara Revacha, that welfare agency. But you're going to send it to me as well, because if I want to navigate and find out if So has a place for him, or Aliyah has, or Shekel, or whatever those agencies are, I need to have these evaluations. We're going to have them translated here in Israel. I work with a wonderful translator, who's also reasonable, and she will do it in a timely fashion, and they've always been well accepted by the agencies here. Okay, but with a Jewish agency, amongst these documents, where these documents going to go, they have what they call a function report. Now, people look at the function report and they say, oh my God, like it's quite overwhelming. It's a lot of pages, etc. But if you take a deep breath and you look at each part, everything is doable. There's a part of a function report about the background. Where did this person go to school? Has the person worked? Is the person in residence? And then there's a whole battery of questions that you ask. There's a battery of questions for a social worker or somebody helping you, which is where I come in and I'll help you. And there's a section where it says, please attach the psychological, please attach the medical, please attach this, a report. If your child or your family member is in a residence, you need a report from the residents. How does he or she get along with the other residents? How are they respectful of the adult supervision? If he or she is working or on a day program, you need to be able to get a similar report from them as well. And you need to attach that. Those are the attachments that need to go along with the function report. Again, if people look at a function report, it's many pages, and it looks very, very overwhelming, but it's really quite doable. It's quite doable when you break it down into pieces, and I'm happy to help you with that. The other thing you need is a legal proof of guardianship. And I'm telling you that the Jewish agency has a particular mindset or a particular way that this legal guardianship has to look and everything. So just do what they say. And I want to tell you that even though it's legal and acceptable in the United States and here in Israel to have power of attorney, you can have power of attorney over body. That means I can make medical decisions for this person. I can make other decisions for this and over finances. I'm charged with his or her finances, bank accounts, and whatever monies that he has. The Jewish agency does not accept that. Okay, so you come to me well in advance so that you can get all these things done properly, and you need to get the guardianship in a way that shows complete guardianship. I must say this: if there is, if the parents or the people who are in charge, the guardianship is only on one parent, because let's say the parents, here's an example, are split. Okay, they don't live together, they're divorced, etc., etc. The Jewish agency is going to want a legal document stating, let's say the person with special needs is under the care of the mother, and the father is in the picture, not in the picture. That's not important to us. What's important is that he has a legal guard, that there's a legal guardianship that says that mother has permission to take this person out of the country. That's very strict, and it makes a lot of sense, and has the jurisdiction to make the decisions that are best for this particular child. That's critical, and I say this, but you're not going to get to the first step. You're not going to get on Aliyah unless you get that done. Okay, when all this is in place, they're going to ask you to come for an interview, including the person with special needs. If the person has very severe disabilities, they will often do that on Zoom. Okay, with that particular person, but you're gonna have to come for an interview, and they're gonna, which everybody does. Everybody who makes Aliyah has to go for an interview with Jewish agency. And in this case, you're gonna bring your family member with you. You bring all your family members, including this particular family member. Okay. I talked about Kupat Cholim as one of the agencies that's responsible and will take care of your family member. The first Briut Klali, that's general health. Same thing that you and I need, okay? We sign up for Kupat because we found the provider, because we found that they have the kinds of doctors that I need. If I don't need anybody specific, then I could go to the one that's quote-unquote most popular, most available, etc. I ask the people in the community that I'm living with, I need an endocrinologist. Does Muqaddid have endocrinologist? Maccabi has it. Maybe it's a good idea that I sign up to Maccabi. And that's true of your family member with special needs, okay? And the other part, that Kupat Cholim has a division called Biyut Nefesh, or mental health. Okay, and again, it's for all of us, but it's particularly you may be coming on Aliyah, maybe the family member is somebody who has mental health issues. Okay, and I'm gonna freeze for a second and say, if your family does have mental health issues, I said to you before about the Jewish agency, you're going to need psychiatric. I said you need a report from a psychiatrist, but let's say the person has ever been hospitalized. And it's going to ask you that on the function report. And if that person is hospitalized, you need to get all the hospitalization reports. In other words, a child, let's say, God forbid, somebody was suicidal, was hospitalized in such and such hospital, such and such time. They're going to ask you for that report, and they're going to look at it and with a fine-tooth comb. And I say that, the Israeli government is wonderful. They're going to take care of this person. Like I said before, I'd never say until you're no longer able and or alive, and he or she isn't. But they want to make sure they could do this. Mental health is often the hardest. So make sure that you get all those reports. They're not giving you a hard time for the sake of giving you a hard time. They're being strong, not hard time, strong, because they want to make sure they could take care of your family member. Okay, so that you come in Aliyah, your Aliyah is approved, this person's Aliyah is approved. They do need a mental health system, and the social in your Kupa, let's say you sign up for Mochadet, there is a division called Biyut Nefesh, mental health. You apply with the evaluations that you've done and that we've translated, and then you get approved, and then you have an appointment, and the mental health department can give you a social worker and a psychiatrist, and they have all kinds of services that they can provide for this person who has special needs. There's such a thing as giving you where you live in your own apartment, somebody who is really okay and stable, and they send a social worker once a week, and they have a counselor twice a week and a couple hours a week, and that person helps the person make his appointments with Kupat Cholim, with the health and the doctor's appointments, or goes to the bank and shows him, teaches him how to use his meds here, et cetera, et cetera. This particular doctor, also because you have a psychiatrist, the psychiatrist will monitor the person's meds and will be able to prescribe the meds. Just as an aside, everybody should call Aliyah, whoever takes any kind of medication, but more so somebody who has some kind of disability should make sure you come with 3 months of it. Try to bring 3 months of your med setting, because it takes a while sometimes to get into a system. Okay, so that's very important. Okay, we talked before about the different placement opportunities that are available. So Mishnah Berurah is really in charge. Placement meaning resident, placement meaning job, recreation placement, et cetera, et cetera. Happens is you come on Aliyah with your family member, you get a Mesper Zehut, you get an identification number, we'll get that, and then we can make an appointment with the local Mishnah Berurah, the local welfare agency. As I said before, there's a national level and there's a local level. We're going local, okay? And not only we're going local, we're going district. In other words, if you come on Aliyah and you're living in Southern Jerusalem, there's a Revachah office there. If you were living in Northern Jerusalem, there's an office there. We have to know it goes according to your address, okay? And that's the address that appears on the Teudat Zehut on your ID number, okay? We'll make an appointment, and again, what you need, I send ahead evaluations. It says here not older than 6 months, but as I said before, that means 6 months from the time that you started your Aliyah process. They understand that. It could be 7 months. It could be a year, from the time that you start your process. So 6 months from that particular time. As I said before, we want to send ahead a psychological. If a pedagogical is pertinent, let's say the guy just reached 21, so maybe they want to know, hasn't been in the workforce yet, hasn't been in a residence, so we want to know what happened in the school system, what happened to this person. But if not, we want to know what happened in the workforce. Vocationally, we want to know if he or she is in a residence. They want a report from that particular or agencies or services, and they want to know, they need a medical report. Okay, then they get psychiatric or neurological. We're going to, in the meantime, identify places. So I tip somebody around, not going to make Aliyah for another half a year or someplace. I called an agency that I know, and I said, listen, this is a review of an old evaluation. Here's a summary. Hook us up with the vocational training in Beit Shemesh. That's where they're thinking of moving. Vocational or residence, what's available there. And we were able to see that. It's not always available, but some of the cities really don't let you do that. But I have a lot of context, so I'm able to often get that for you, okay? I'll get intake. When does this placement happen? As I said before, you make Aliyah and you have your two dads say, oh, you have your ID number, and that's when the process starts. I can do a few steps ahead, but nothing is official until you make Aliyah, except, and you see, before Aliyah. And who is that for? There's a lot of misunderstanding about that, and I want to try to clarify that, okay? There's a new law, pretty new, maybe a little more than a year old, that says the Department of Revachah, the welfare department said, after Nefesh B'Nefesh and people like me kept saying, it's impossible for this family to wait. You know, I'm working with a family who has two members with special needs. One is a gentleman who's a son who is about 40 years old, and one is a brother, let's say the mother's brother who's in his 60s. Both of them have been in, I'm using the word institutions, they've been in institutions since they're little. Both of them have been since they're quite young. They couldn't be contained at home. Family can't, when they come in Aliyah, they want to come in Aliyah. Parents are getting older. They have family members, sibling, they have a daughter who lives here, so it makes sense for them. They want to come on Aliyah with the son and with the brother, who are elderly, who've been in institutions. I'm using that word not lightly, but and really can't wait to go through this whole process when they come on Aliyah. This process can take about 6 months. It can take, maybe a person could begin to work earlier, but it could take a long time to find the right services. Can't live at home. They haven't lived at home for a very long time. That's the way this new law kicks in. Remember I said before, there was a federal, a national government office of Ministry of Welfare, and then there's a local. So the Ministry of Welfare on the national level said to the local, listen, I'm going to cover this for the next 6 months, okay? In other words, don't worry about covering the cost. We'll take care. So-and-so is coming in Aliyah. We need to approve that and make sure that they have a spot in their residence as soon as they get off the plane, so to speak. And we could do that, but we can only do that if we scout around. They determine eligibility for these services before they've even made Aliyah, only for people like this. They've determined that eligibility before they've made Aliyah. But besides the eligibility, we need to have a placement for them. That's where I come in. I scout around and I try to find where there are openings. Sometimes I discuss it with the supervisor of Revachah, and sometimes I go directly to the agencies, and we try to find out when this family comes in Aliyah, will there be a place, will you have a place for these particular individuals? And sometimes they won't, and sometimes we're going to have to wait and figure something else out. But that's who we call it the fast track is for. The fast track is for, before Aliyah, when we start this process, only for people who are elderly, people with special needs who are elderly, people with special needs who've been, in residence or institutions for many years, lower function who just can't be at home. Okay? The Masada Revachah, as I said, we can evaluate everybody. That's why I said, when we're going to go to the district office, I'm going to take you there. And then after they're going to do their own evaluation. It's not as extensive as the evaluations that you're going to bring with you, but they let it go. They're going to have a psychiatrist, maybe with the person and a doctor. And it's not going to be as extensive. They're not repeating it, but they're standardizing it so that the same standards are for everybody. And then they'll have a placement meeting. And if the placement meeting is going to be representatives of Revachah on the national level, on the local level, there's going to be a psychiatrist, there's going to be a psychologist, and they're going to say, what would you like? What do you need for this? If it's possible, then the person with special needs will be at at the meeting, and they're going to ask you what you want. You could say, I only want a vocational setting. You could say, I want a residential setting as well. But that's where they're going to say, and they're going to say, we think the child or the person functions on such and such level, and we think that such and such setting is the right setting. We think that working in an open field, in a store, etc., with minimal supervision, is just what this person needs. Or we need the person will do better in a workshop, or the person will do better in a different kind of work setting with other people who are similar to her or him. Okay, Bituach Leumi. Bituach Leumi, as I said before, I mentioned, is national insurance. Somebody who makes Aliyah cannot apply for Bituach Leumi until they're here for about a year. Okay, you can, and I know that Bituach Leumi has rejected applications from people who have applied before. So you need to be able to wait the year and then to apply. They can provide you with a stipend. Bituach Leumi bases their decision in adults on my wording, employability. How much can you earn in the workforce? I can earn X amount of money, but somebody with special needs can earn just a little bit amount of money and needs something to supplement that, and they will provide, based on the percentage of disability, they will provide a stipend, and that stipend will go right into the person's account every month. If the person is in a residence, they give part of that Bituach Leumi money to the residents to cover some of that. The fast track, I talked about a fast track in River Baja and Philadelphia. There's a fast track on that in this as well. If somebody, like that example I told you before, I spoke about before, where these people have been, these brother and the son have been in residence for a long time, and they really can't be sustained without a stipend and without a caregiver, then there's a fast track for that, and that's called Sharon, okay, which means miyadi, right away. We try. Miyadi could be 3 months, but it's not where you'll get it within 3 months, but it doesn't mean that you have to wait a year to first apply. But again, not everybody can apply for the fast track. Only people who are elderly, special needs, elderly in institutions for a long time, and who really can't wait to get this caregiver, or can't really wait to get this stipend. Even people with special needs need to learn Hebrew. People ask me all the time, how is this going to work? It's hard enough for me to learn Hebrew, but I can't imagine that, my son, my daughter, my sister, my brother with special needs are going to be able to learn Hebrew. And my answer to that is, look, there are people on different functioning levels. And my suggestion is that people who can learn, and it's amazing, like people that you would least expect to be able to learn Hebrew will learn phrases. They may not be able to speak fluently, but they will be able to learn phrases. And in almost every setting, either there are other residences or other people who are working there who have some English, or the social worker or a counselor or somebody who speaks English. There's always somebody who speaks some English, just like we speak some Hebrew, okay? But it's important, if your family member is on a high enough level, to play games in Hebrew, get whatever books. It could be, again, depending on the cognitive level, on whatever level that is. And there are videos. They can watch videos in Hebrew. And again, depending on the functioning level, there are some online games, et cetera, that you could play, or they could play. And I just provide you with a couple of links here. There are a lot more that you can find online, but these are just a couple that I found are user-friendly. This is the information that I wanted to give you now. I wanted you to become familiar with the team. I wanted you to become familiar with the process, maybe some of the words, and to be able to now say, I can make Aliyah because I know that this is doable. You don't have to do it by yourself. That's why I'm here. That's why Nefesh B'Nefesh is here. I hope that at the end of this presentation, that you go away having the confidence, knowing that you can make Aliyah with this family member with special needs. You have partners. I understand the process. You don't have to remember everything that I said. You can get this webinar. We have time for questions and answers, Q&A now, and you can write your questions in the area that is designated for that. And if you have questions, specific questions about your family member, then please write to me. This is my email address. Just say that I watched the webinar and I have a question, and I'll be very happy to work with you. And happy Aliyah.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Please feel free to contact me at answers@nbn.org.il.